If you're in your 60s, 70s, or beyond, you've probably noticed that life can feel like a patchwork quilt. Some pieces bright and beautiful, others worn and frayed. At this stage of life, we've weathered storms, collected memories, and, hopefully, gained a bit of wisdom along the way. But here's the thing, every year still holds the possibility for victories, big and small. Today, I want to share 6 powerful life wins that reminded me, and can remind you, that age does not define our limits. These aren't just my stories. They're universal moments of triumph that you can adapt into your own journey. Whether it's rediscovering your courage, achieving financial peace, or mending a broken bond, you'll see that your greatest chapters might still be ahead. Let's begin with the first win, defying the odds. They told me it was too late. Too late to start something new, too late to make real changes, too late to feel truly alive again. But here's what they didn't see coming. Have you ever had someone look at you with that subtle smile that says, "Bless your heart, but you can't really do that at your age"? It's a smile that stings more than it supports, because deep down, they've already written your limits in ink. I've had those moments. You've probably had them too. And I can tell you right now, they were wrong. Picture this. It's a gray Tuesday morning, the kind that feels heavier than it should. You're sitting with your cup of tea, staring out the window, wondering if the best days are behind you. You tell yourself you're fine, but the truth is you miss feeling that spark, the excitement of a goal, a challenge, a victory. For me, that day came when I realized I was avoiding mirrors. Not just physical mirrors, but life's mirrors, situations that reflected how small my world had become. My calendar was full of the same old, and my curiosity had been gathering dust. That's when the first win started brewing, the moment I decided to defy the odds. Why this matters at our age? Let's be honest, the world loves to measure us by numbers. Our age, our retirement savings, our cholesterol levels. But what those numbers can't measure is the fire inside us, and the research backs this up. A 2022 study from Harvard found that older adults who actively engage in new challenges show 31% higher life satisfaction and significantly better cognitive health. That means your brain, mood, and even your physical resilience can improve when you dare to do something that surprises you. Defying the odds isn't about reckless risks. It's about refusing to live according to the quiet, unspoken rule that says, from here on out, you just slow down. The turning point, my story. A year ago, I got an invitation to join a local hiking group. At first, I laughed. Me? Hiking? My knees hadn't been tested like that in years, and I had visions of being the one holding everyone back. But something about the invitation tugged at me. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was that tiny rebellious voice whispering, "Prove them wrong." So I showed up. Day 1 was brutal. I was sweating more than I thought possible, my legs were screaming, and my ego was bruised. But I noticed something strange. Every step, no matter how awkward, felt like reclaiming a part of myself I didn't know I'd lost. By the 3rd hike, I was no longer the slowest. By the 6th, I was helping newcomers find their footing. And somewhere along the way, I realized this wasn't about hiking at all. It was about proving that growth doesn't have an age limit. Maybe hiking isn't your thing. Maybe for you it's finally learning to swim, joining a choir, or mastering that tricky computer skill everyone says is too complicated. Whatever it is, the real victory is stepping into something you're not already good at. Because here's the truth, when we stop doing hard things, we stop growing. And when we stop growing, life starts to feel smaller. The mindset shift. How to start. Start small, but start. Don't wait for the perfect time. There's no such thing. Pick something manageable and begin today. Even 10 minutes a day towards something new builds momentum. Expect resistance. Your brain will try to protect you from discomfort by whispering, "This isn't worth it." That's just fear wearing a reasonable mask. Keep going. Celebrate progress, not perfection. Every tiny improvement is a win. Write them down. Share them with a friend. Make them visible so you can remind yourself you're moving forward. Here's the surprising part. Once I proved to myself that I could tackle something physically challenging, other areas of my life started to shift too. I approached conversations with more confidence. I said yes to invitations I would have declined before. And then one decision that seemed small, joining that hiking group, ended up unlocking one of the biggest wins of my year. But we'll get to that in Chapter 2. Practical, quick wins for you. Write down one thing you've secretly wanted to try for years. Don't edit, just write it. Break it into a first step, so small it feels almost silly. For example, if it's painting, buy one brush and a small canvas. Tell one supportive friend about your plan. This adds gentle accountability. Schedule it. If it's not in your calendar, it's just a wish. Encouragement. Why you'll thank yourself later. If you start today, you'll look back in 6 months and barely recognize the person you were. Not because you'll be someone entirely new, but because you'll have reclaimed parts of yourself you thought were gone forever. You've earned the right to live boldly, not cautiously. At 70, you've already beaten the odds just by being here. Now, it's about beating the expectations, yours and everyone else's. And that first step, defying the odds, led me straight into my next victory. It wasn't easy, and it didn't happen overnight. In fact, it started with one of the hardest personal challenges I've ever faced. It started with a single phone call, and ended with a version of me I never thought I'd meet. We've all had those moments where the floor seems to drop out from under us. Maybe it's bad news from the doctor. Maybe it's losing something or someone important. For me, it was a day I'll never forget. One minute, I thought life was moving along just fine. The next, I felt like everything I'd worked for was unraveling. And here's the thing, at 70, people assume you've already learned all your big lessons. But this setback became one of my greatest teachers and, unexpectedly, one of my proudest wins. It was mid-afternoon, warm sunlight pouring through the curtains. I had just settled down with a crossword puzzle when the phone rang. A short conversation later, I found myself sitting in silence, the pen slipping from my hand. My mind kept replaying the words I'd heard, words that meant months of physical therapy, lifestyle changes, and a lot of uncertainty. The old me, the one who avoided mirrors and challenges, would have retreated. But after defying the odds in Chapter 1, something inside me said, "This is not the end of your story." Why it matters to you. If you've ever faced a personal setback, a health scare, losing a hobby you loved, or feeling like your confidence took a hit, you know how quickly doubt can creep in. It's not just about the challenge itself. It's about the identity shift that comes with it. Research from Stanford University shows that people over 60 who actively work to reframe challenges as opportunities report 40% higher resilience and emotional well-being. That means your mindset is not just a feel-good idea. It's a proven tool for recovery and growth. Win 1. Overcoming self-doubt. The first hurdle wasn't physical, it was mental. I had to confront the little voice in my head whispering, "You're too old for this fight." So I made a decision. Every day, I'd do one thing to prove that voice wrong. Some days it was as small as taking a 10-minute walk. Other days it was learning about my condition, reading recovery stories, and reminding myself I wasn't alone. By the third week, something shifted. My fear began shrinking, replaced by a quiet kind of pride. And that pride kept me moving forward. Just when I started feeling steady again, another challenge, this one entirely different, came knocking. It wasn't about my body this time. It was about my confidence in learning something completely new. Win 2. Mastering a new skill against the odds. I had always admired people who could play an instrument. Music seemed like a language I'd never get to speak. But one day, my granddaughter left her old keyboard at my house, just for storage. At first, I walked past it like it was a stranger. Then one rainy afternoon, curiosity won. I touched the keys. They sounded awkward, clumsy, almost funny. But there was something joyful about it. I made myself a promise. 10 minutes a day, no matter how bad I sounded. Slowly, I learned simple songs. Then slightly harder ones. By the end of the year, I was playing Happy Birthday at family gatherings, and nobody covered their ears. Now, maybe you have no interest in hiking or playing music. That's fine. Your skill might be baking bread, learning to paint, or finally figuring out how to video call without your screen freezing. The point is this: it's not about the skill itself. It's about proving to yourself that learning and growth are still yours to claim. Quick wins for staying motivated. Track your wins visibly. Use a notebook or a wall calendar. Check off every day you take action. Pair it with something pleasant. Play your favorite music while you practice or learn. Reward milestones. Treat yourself when you hit 7 days, then 30 days. Share your progress. Tell a friend or family member. People love cheering for effort, not just results. The ripple effect. Something strange happened after I started learning music. My confidence didn't just grow in that area. I started volunteering to lead small activities at my community center. I reconnected with a friend I'd drifted from. Even signed up for an online workshop about storytelling, which is something I'd never have done a year earlier. When you overcome a personal setback and then stretch yourself in a brand new way, you're sending yourself a powerful message. I'm still capable, adaptable, and growing. That belief changes everything. It changes how you handle the next challenge. It changes the way others see you. And maybe most importantly, it changes the way you see yourself. And here's where it gets interesting. Those personal wins didn't just boost my confidence. They opened the door to something I never expected, a level of financial freedom I hadn't felt in decades. And it all started with one surprising decision. What if I told you the biggest financial win of my 70s didn't come from a lottery ticket, but from a cup of coffee and a single conversation? When we think of big financial breakthroughs, we imagine windfalls, inheritances, or some perfect stock market timing. But mine? It started on an ordinary morning with a neighbor who happened to be sipping coffee at the same cafe. I almost didn't sit down with her. But that decision, that tiny moment, ended up saving me thousands of dollars and unlocking a freedom I hadn't felt in years. I was in my usual spot, corner table by the window, when my neighbor Janet waved me over. We started chatting about everything, family, weather, aches and pains, and then she casually mentioned how she'd managed to pay off her last credit card bill years ahead of schedule. That caught my attention. I leaned in. She explained a method she called her snowball challenge, focusing on the smallest debt first, then rolling the freed-up payment amount into the next one. I'd heard of it before, but never really believed it would make a difference at my age. Still, something in her enthusiasm made me think, why not? Win 3. The debt payoff that brought peace of mind. That night, I wrote down every debt I had, from small medical bills to the lingering balance on my home repair loan. It wasn't pretty, but seeing it in black and white made it real. I started with the smallest one, $412 from a dental procedure. I cut a few unnecessary subscriptions, sold an old piece of furniture online, and by the end of the month it was gone. That tiny victory lit a fire in me. Month by month, the balances shrank. By the end of the year, I was debt-free for the first time in decades. And here's the unexpected part. The freedom wasn't just financial. It was emotional. I slept better. I felt lighter. While I was tackling my debts, something else began to happen. I started to see opportunities where I hadn't before, and one of them turned into my 4th big win. Win 4. A career milestone I didn't expect at 70. Most people think career and retirement can't overlap. But the truth is, many of us still have skills, knowledge, and energy to offer. And sometimes, that's worth more than we realize. In my case, I'd been volunteering at a local community workshop, teaching basic computer skills. I enjoyed it, but I never thought of it as work. One day, the director pulled me aside. She told me they were starting a paid mentorship program and wanted me to lead it. At first, I hesitated. Was I too old for this responsibility? But then I remembered. The only limits were the ones I let myself believe. I accepted. Within months, I was not only earning extra income, but I was also connecting with people, feeling useful, and sharpening my own skills. Why this matters to you? Financial wins aren't just about numbers. They're about reclaiming control and the confidence that comes with it. Whether you're paying off debt, building a little savings cushion, or starting a small side hustle, the benefits spill over into your health, your relationships, and your sense of purpose. And career wins? They remind you that your experience has value. You don't have to clock in 40 hours a week. You just have to find the right space where your skills meet someone else's need. Quick wins you can try right now. Do a money sweep. Spend 20 minutes today finding one bill, subscription, or expense you can reduce or eliminate. List your skills. Write down everything you know how to do well, no matter how small. This list is often longer than you think. Ask one question. Reach out to a friend, neighbor, or a local group and simply ask, "Do you know of anyone who needs help with?" And fill in a skill you enjoy. Celebrate small gains. Every $10 saved or earned is proof of momentum. The ripple effect, more than just money. Here's something the experts don't always tell you. Financial freedom changes how you walk through life. You stop making decisions out of fear. You start thinking about what you want, not just what you can afford. And career wins in later life? They're not about climbing ladders anymore. They're about planting seeds. Seeds that grow into new friendships, new challenges, and a renewed sense of belonging. If you take one thing from this chapter, let it be this: your financial story is not over. You are not too late to make progress. And you are not done contributing to the world in meaningful ways. The smallest financial shift can snowball into bigger changes than you imagine. The smallest opportunity can reignite your sense of purpose. And while money and career wins brought me security and pride, they weren't the ones that made me feel richest. That honor belongs to something far more personal, the relationships that shape our lives. And in my next chapter, I'll share how mending one broken bond changed everything. It had been 3 years since we'd spoken, and I wasn't sure they'd even pick up the phone. Some wins can be measured in dollars or miles walked. But others? They're measured in heartbeats, in hugs, in the quiet relief of knowing a wound has finally started to heal. This chapter is about the 2 wins that filled my life with more warmth than any bank account ever could. For years, a disagreement had left a wall between me and someone I deeply cared about. It wasn't one of those dramatic, movie-worthy fights. It was a slow drift, fueled by pride and unspoken hurts. At first, I told myself, they'll call when they're ready. Months passed, then years. But one quiet evening, while looking through an old photo album, I felt something shift. There we were, laughing, arms around each other, before the silence began. And I realized I missed them more than I wanted to be, right? Win 5, mending a broken bond. The next morning, I picked up the phone. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I dialed. It rang once, twice, 3 times, and then their voice, cautious but familiar. "Hello." I stumbled over my words at first, but then I simply said, "I've missed you. Can we talk?" That conversation wasn't perfect. There were pauses, a few tears, even some awkward laughter. But by the end, the wall between us had a crack in it, and over the next few months, we slowly tore it down brick by brick. Rebuilding that relationship became one of the most healing experiences of my later life. It reminded me that vulnerability is not weakness, it's a bridge. Why this matters to you? Relationships are the lifeblood of our emotional health. Studies from the Harvard Study of Adult Development, one of the longest-running studies in the world, show that strong relationships are the single most consistent predictor of long, healthy, and happy lives, even more than diet or exercise. That means repairing one meaningful connection can do more for your well-being than any pill or supplement. Quick wins for reconnection. Send a simple message, a text, a letter, or even a postcard that says, "I was thinking of you." Start small. Don't aim to solve everything in one conversation. The goal is to open the door. Choose listening over defending. Let them share without jumping to your side of the story right away. Mark the progress. Celebrate even tiny improvements in your connection. Rebuilding that relationship filled my heart, but something else was happening in parallel, something that stretched beyond my personal circle and into the wider world. Win 6, creating a ripple of positive change. A few months after that first phone call, I stumbled into a volunteer opportunity. The local food bank needed extra hands on Thursdays. I figured, why not help out for a few hours? The first week, I packed boxes quietly, just another pair of hands in the back room. By the 3rd week, I was greeting people at the door, learning their names, sharing little jokes. Before long, Thursday mornings became the highlight of my week. One day, a young mother came in. She looked exhausted, juggling 2 toddlers. I handed her a box and said, "You're doing a great job." Her eyes filled with tears. She whispered, "You have no idea how much I needed to hear that today." That's when I realized, sometimes the smallest actions have the biggest ripples. Why giving back matters at this stage of life. Volunteering isn't just about helping others. It keeps you mentally sharp, emotionally engaged, and physically active. A report from the Mayo Clinic found that older adults who volunteer regularly have lower rates of depression and a stronger sense of purpose. It also gives you something to look forward to, a reason to get up, get dressed, and be part of something bigger than yourself. Quick wins for making an impact. Start local. Check bulletin boards at libraries, community centers, or faith groups. Match your strengths. If you love cooking, join a meal prep team. If you're good at listening, try a helpline service. Make it social. Invite a friend to volunteer with you. Commit in small bites. Even once a month can make a difference and keep you coming back. The ripple effect, connection feeding connection. Here's the beautiful thing. Mending that broken relationship gave me the courage to open up to strangers. And helping strangers reminded me how much joy there is in simple human connection. Before I knew it, my life was richer, not in things, but in moments. The laughter over shared tasks, the quiet gratitude in a smile, the unexpected friendships that grow when you show up consistently. If you've been feeling isolated, or if there's a name in your mind right now that makes your heart ache, take the first step. And if your days feel too quiet, find one small way to offer your time, your ear, or your skills. These are the wins that will echo the loudest when you look back years from now. And here's the thing. Every one of these wins, from defying the odds to building stronger bonds, has led me to a powerful realization. This journey isn't over. In fact, it's just getting better. In our final chapter, I want to help you see how your own wins are waiting for you, starting today. What if, right now, you're already sitting on your next big win, and you just haven't noticed it yet? We've talked about my 6 wins: defying the odds, overcoming personal setbacks, achieving financial peace, career triumphs, mending relationships, and making an impact. But the truth is, the most important win isn't mine. It's yours. And it might be hiding in plain sight. The other night, I sat in my favorite chair with a cup of chamomile tea. No TV, no phone, just the soft hum of the evening. I started thinking about this past year, not the flashy moments, but the small ones. The times I said yes when it would have been easier to say no. The days I kept a promise to myself, even when no one was watching. That's when it hit me. The real wins are the ones that shape who you are becoming, not just what you accomplish. Why this matters at this stage of life. When we're younger, wins are often measured in milestones, promotions, degrees, first homes. But later in life, the scoreboard changes. Wins become about quality, of health, of relationships, of purpose. And they're deeply personal. A study published in the Journal of Aging Studies found that older adults who regularly acknowledged and celebrated small successes reported higher life satisfaction and better emotional resilience than those who only focused on big goals. In other words, recognizing your everyday victories actually rewires your brain to see more possibilities. Your next win. How to spot it. Look for what lights you up. Notice the moments when time seems to pass quickly because you're enjoying yourself. That's a clue. Listen to your curiosity. If something makes you think, I wonder if I could do that, follow it. Check your someday list. Pull out old dreams you've tucked away. Pick one small action you can take toward them now. Ask yourself, who could benefit? Wins feel even bigger when they help someone else, even in a small way. Here's the funny thing. Sometimes your next win doesn't feel like a win at all when it starts. It might look like a challenge, an inconvenience, or even a setback. But give it time, and it could turn into the chapter you'll talk about for years. I want you to think of one win from the last year, big or small, that made you proud. Maybe it was learning to use a new app to video call your grandkids. Maybe it was walking a little farther than you thought you could. Maybe it was finally telling someone, I forgive you. Write it down. And if you're willing, share it. Tell a friend. Write it in a card, or drop it in the comments below so others can be inspired by your journey. You never know who needs to hear your story today. Quick wins you can claim this week. Reconnect with someone, send a message to a person you've been thinking about. Move your body, even a 15-minute walk is a win worth celebrating. Try something new, a recipe, a hobby, a game. Novelty is fuel for the brain. Do one thing for your future self. Organize a drawer, schedule a health checkup, or start that book you've been meaning to read. You've lived enough life to know that joy isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet and steady, but it's still joy. And it's still worth noticing. Your wins, whether they make headlines or not, ripple out into the lives of the people around you. Your courage encourages others. Your persistence inspires them. Your kindness changes their day. And that's why, when I look back at these 6 wins and think about the wins you're about to have, I can honestly say this. Age doesn't limit us. It refines us. And the best part? We're just getting started. At 70, if you can still do these 6 things, you're winning at life. That's not just a catchy title. It's a truth I've lived, and one I hope you felt through each of these stories. We've walked through defying the odds, turning personal struggles into growth, achieving financial and career milestones, building stronger connections, and making a meaningful impact. And in Chapter 5, we turn the mirror toward you because your journey matters just as much as mine. Here's what I want you to take away. Life's scoreboard changes with age. It's no longer about how fast you run, but how deeply you live. It's about waking up with something or someone worth showing up for. It's about recognizing that even small wins can carry enormous weight. The fact that you're here, still curious, still learning, still striving, that alone is a win. When I started reflecting on these wins, I didn't think they'd resonate beyond my own circle. But the comments, messages, and emails I've received over the years have taught me this. The details of our stories may be different, but the feelings, the fears, the hopes, the pride are universal. So if something in this video sparked a memory, an idea, or a smile, that's not an accident. That's a connection. And connection is one of the greatest wins we can have. I'd love for you to share your biggest win from the past year in the comments below. Not just for me to read, but because you never know who else needs that reminder that they, too, are winning in their own way. And if you found value here, consider subscribing so you don't miss the upcoming videos where we dive deeper into how to build these wins into your everyday life. The truth is, life isn't a straight climb. It's hills, valleys, and unexpected turns. But as long as you can still dream, still grow, still give, still connect, still learn, and still smile at the journey, you're already ahead. So here's to you. Here's to your next win. And here's to proving every single day that at 70 and beyond, we're just getting started.